So Reggie Middleton back, another Veritaseum video. It's been a while since I've done a video because I've been working, been very, very busy trotting around the globe. We should have some releases coming up in June, big releases, big updates to the beta, hopefully taking the beta out of beta status and into production, along with some other big things, but I'm not going to announce them right now, as well as other very big things with financial exchanges, regulated securities exchanges around the world. So excitement. But on a more grassroots level, I met with a UFC champion a couple of days ago. Had a very fruitful meeting with him. Very smart guy, gold Olympian, and current UFC champ. My man Henry, literally the golden boy. Okay.
We got gold everything.
Kilogram, we got the VE gold token. We got my little golden baby girl right here. You're gonna hear a lot from this man. And he won his title right in Brooklyn, actually. And it came to mind that a lot of celebrities, particularly a lot of athletes, are in this desperate need of what we can offer, especially my particular skill set. And no, that's not necessarily learning how to fight, grapple, or whatever. You know, I think I'm pretty good, but actually learning about wealth, what wealth really is, wealth creation, wealth preservation. There's a statistic, I don't know how accurate it is because I haven't looked it up, but it sounds about right, that within 5 years, 86% of athletes file for bankruptcy. And it sounds about right. For those who think that it doesn't make sense, think about the average athlete that is showered with a decent amount of money because they're successful, and think about who gives the money, where they get the money from, and how suitable they are for handling it. If I took an 8-year-old and I gave them a Ferrari and said, listen, drive across town at the speed limit, you have an 86% chance of that 8-year-old crashing the car. The reason? It's not because the 8-year-old is dumb or stupid, it's because the 8-year-old doesn't know how to drive, right? Never learned how to drive, yet you give them a very high-powered car. So if you have somebody who never knew how to handle money, right, was never taught how to handle money, was miseducated on what money and wealth actually is, and then you give them money, it's to be understood that they would lose it, especially with all the sharks swimming around whose sole purpose in life is to take money from people like that. Imagine if you not only gave that 8-year-old or that 13-year-old Maserati, or Lamborghini, or Ferrari, and said you could drive across town, but everybody else in traffic is out to run their car into that particular sports car. Now you lessen chance even further that that person, whether they're 8, 13, or even 20 years old, gets across town. And that's what, you know, the capital game is about. So, in discussing this with this gentleman, I'll go put a clip on with him. We don't have any deals or anything, so let's kill the speculation. But I just met with him, and I think he's an intelligent young man and a very good fighter, by the way. I'm looking at the purposeful miseducation, okay, of athletes, of minorities, and of the working class. For instance, a lot of guys in the music industry, and I went to college with a lot of the moguls and icons of the music industry. And I know and I observe what happens to a lot of people when they get their first record deal. They get an advance on their record deal. That advance is basically a loan with an interest rate. They get the opportunity to get access to the baubles of what they're taught wealth is: jewelry, gold, bling, diamonds, ice, etc. They get the Maserati, the Rolls Royce, leased to them at a high interest rate. The jewelry is leased to them at a high interest rate. Both depreciate significantly, okay, and possibly overpriced. The agents, the sharks, I'm gonna say agents, the sharks are swimming around and say, I happen to have a real estate license, so I'll put you in this big McMansion, okay, leased without them owning it at a high interest rate. This is all before they get the first actual dime of capital, of income. When they get that first check, which is usually minuscule because they don't have access to the source of distribution, okay, basically they get paid crumbs from the cake. Those crumbs are already spent. plus interest. So now it's someone take your crumbs, but you owe 14 more crumbs. It's impossible to get a cake, nonetheless the bakery. And that's basically how the system is set against the athletes. Now, there's one way you can solve this, simply by simple education. Because I know a few wealthy people, more than a few actually, and most of the wealthy people I know don't drive around in Lamborghinis. Okay, they don't wear a lot of fancy jewelry. A lot of them have residences that are much smaller and much less fancy than you think they would have. The trappings of wealth, the visual trappings of wealth, looks more like someone dressed with clothes out of either Macy's or a boutique store. Okay, and they focus not so much on buying things, but convincing others to buy their things. So they sell. So a wealthy person looks like someone who sells a lot to somebody else, and not someone who goes around buying things often. Particularly first generation wealth that's self-made. Okay, when you make the wealth, right, you want to hold on to it and you want to grow it. Let's assume that I was a wealthy person. Okay, it's anathema to me to give my money to somebody else. And if I gave my money to somebody else and I got in return a pair of sneakers or a car or a piece of jewelry, same as me losing it. Okay? In opposition to that, I would love for people to buy my product. Buy more Very Gold, buy more Very, buy more consulting services. Let us, raise capital formation, consulting services, etc. So the more you buy from me, the happier I am. The more that I give my money to somebody else, the less happy I am. Is that right? Less happy I am. And that is the mantra of entrepreneurial wealth. Okay? But those who have wealth, they're happier when people buy things from them, and they're less happy when they sell things or they give the money to somebody else. They want to be happy. So if I want to be happy and I own a Lamborghini dealership, I need to convince all you people who run into money that to look wealthy, you need to have a Lamborghini. You need to have that blinged out watch. You need to have this clothing, this name brand, this, etc. Now, personally, the only name brand that counts is Veritaseum, or Reggie Middleton from my perspective. And that's the only name brand that counts, so I don't really care about any other name brands. That's the wealth mentality. So if we could take all these athletes when they get their first bit of money, and we can show them and convince them, if you want to look like a wealthy person, okay, you buy assets that produce income, that increase in value, and that cause others to give you their money. Sell, 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 sell. That's what a wealthy person looks like. So the young 18-year-old rapper who's hot and gets his first record deal, right, the first thing he does with his money is investigates how he can become an owner of a distribution company. And it's a distribution company that controls the power in music. Okay, and music has slid significantly anyway because the internet has dropped margins. But that book author, same thing. That basketball star, soccer star, football star, etc. As they start buying productive capital, meaning the assets with their money, they actually become wealthier. But if they're never taught that and they're miseducated, and I got this Lamborghini, I got the two pretty girls by my side, I got the blinged out watch, come the first royalty check, they're already broke. As a matter of fact, they're broke before then. How do you ever build up capital? It's impossible because you give it away. And you give it away at an accelerated rate if you borrow money. Quick lesson,